We have two people signed up to speak. Chris Bruce, Mr. Bruce. Good to have you today. Welcome.
Oh, no problem.
We'd be happy to hear from you, and I'd ask all the speakers to keep your comments to about 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Christopher Bruce, Political Director of the ACLU of Georgia. Stand here in front of your committee to first say, Representative, thank you for your service. My dad served in the Army for 30 years, retired as a U.S. Army colonel, and we traveled this country extensively. I love this country, and that's why I'm here every day trying to make it better, especially the state of Georgia. So when I talk about coming up here and speaking in front of this committee, as well as the counterpart in the Senate, I'm really talking about the legislation that deals with certain things that we've been talking about all year. That's dealing with restricting weekend and Sunday early voting, limiting no excuse absentee voting, throwing out provisional ballots, drastically cutting early voting for runoffs, making absentee ballot drop boxes functionally useless, creating identity theft risk for seniors and Georgians with disabilities and voting absentee. So make sure we keep them in mind within all this. Functionally outlawing mobile voting units, criminalizing offering water or food to voters waiting in line, and so many other initiatives, too many for me even to really name. But over the past several months, we have taken more of a nuanced approach, the ACLU of Georgia, and really taking down each section and explaining why we support or oppose each provision. But I think we're at that point now where we're past nuances. So let me be clear to all legislators, your actions speak louder than words with this resolution. Actions on Senate Bill 202, Senate Bill 241, and House Bill 531, and this resolution are clear messages directly to federal legislators. Rushing through large, complex election bills that restrict the right to vote is a clear invitation for federal investigations. Passing these voter suppression bills is a sounding alarm that HR 1 and Senate Resolution 1 are even more necessary to protect the right to vote. So I come to you as someone who is incredibly proud of this state, as someone who calls Georgia home and does not plan on leaving, as someone who grew up in a state where Congressman John Lewis, C.T. Vivian, and our very own Dr. Martin Luther King, and those other individuals eventually who advocated for supporting voting rights from the United States federal government. For this reason, they were in opposition even then to local reform. There was certainly opposition to federal reform. Many claimed that it wasn't even needed. But the suppressive actions of local leaders spoke louder than their words of the opposition. And the federal government had to step in and pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which has safeguarded the right to vote for over half a century now. So again, if you do not want the federal government to step in and protect the right to vote for people in Georgia, we don't need to give them a reason to. And that's what these bills have been doing. So my last comment to point out is that President Grant, a Republican, a president from the federal government offered those solutions because of the things that were happening in the South and passing Black codes to take away the right to vote. Since 1866 and definitely in 1870, you had 22 Black legislators that were put up into Congress because Black people had the right to vote. Ever since then, you've seen nothing but voting bills trying to take away that right to vote, to the point where we did not have those same numbers until 1993 in the federal Congress. We want to protect the right to vote of all Georgians. So I strongly suggest that we oppose this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce.
I yield for
Appreciate
any
you coming
questions.
today. Thank you. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Chairman.
Mhm.